What's black and white, but may not be read all over? It's the nutrition facts label. It's present on nearly every package of food, but not always accounted for. We're gonna take the mystery out of this label and show you all the useful information it contains. First, let's take a step back to look at the history of the label. Now, before the early 1990s, there was no regulation that required manufacturers to list nutrition information on packaged foods, or a standardized format for presenting this information. Then a law was passed that required all food companies to use a nutrition label. This label remained fairly unchanged until 2016, when the FDA announced plans for a new version. The new label is designed to be easier for consumers to read and understand, and also reflects updated serving sizes for many foods. You'll still see the old label for a while, but you'll also see the new label on more and more foods. What are the differences? Well, you'll first notice the new label has calorie information in a larger and bolder font. The new label includes both total and added sugars. Calories from fat is information that's no longer required on the revised label. Vitamin A and C are no longer required, and potassium and vitamin D have been added to the new label. Let's look at the new label and break it down. The number of servings per container is clearly noted at the top. Next, serving size. This is the amount of food that people are typically thought to eat at one sitting. Keep in mind, it's not a recommended or suggested serving size of the product. Total calories per serving, as I mentioned, this information is in a much larger font than in the old label. It's designed to make it easier for consumers to note the total calorie content for a serving of the product. Next, cholesterol and sodium, both in milligrams. Then, total carbohydrate and dietary fiber, both listed in grams. Then, total sugars and added sugars are noted. Added sugars refers to the sugars that have been added to the product in the form of sucrose, or table sugar, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, maltodextrin, or other derivatives. Keep in mind that foods such as dairy and fruit contain natural sugar in the form of lactose and fructose. These are naturally present in the foods and have not been added to the product. Next, you'll see a list of nutrients. You'll see protein listed in grams. Then a list of vitamins and minerals in their amounts and the percent daily value. These are vitamin D in micrograms, and calcium, iron, and potassium, all in milligrams. What is percent daily value anyway? That's how much one serving of the food item contributes towards the recommended daily value for that particular nutrient, based on a 2,000 calorie diet. If a person's calorie needs are fewer than 2,000 calories, one serving of the product provides a greater percentage of their daily needs. For products that have more than one, but less than 3 servings per container, there's a helpful new dual-column label. Under the revised guidelines for nutrition labeling, food products that contain more than 1 and up to 3 servings must also list the nutritional information for the entire container. So you'll see a label with 2 columns. This new requirement is designed to allow for the fact that food products with 3 servings or less may be consumed in one sitting. If you're armed with information on the nutritional value of the entire container, you may be more aware of the impact of eating that whole tub of ice cream in one sitting. The ingredient list may perhaps be one of the most important components of a nutrition label. However, it's often also the least used. When you look at the ingredient list, ask yourself a few questions. What is the primary ingredient in this product? Which item is listed first? And does this item correspond with what the product actually claims to provide? You can reference the ingredient list when you select foods for health and fitness goals. For example, if you're looking for minimally refined products such as whole grain with low added sugar or foods with very few additives and preservatives, look to the label. Ingredients are listed in order from the greatest amount to the least. So those are clues as to how much of your fruit breakfast bar is, indeed, fruit. The length and composition of the ingredient list can also be a clue if the food product is made from whole foods, good, or is highly processed, not so good. In general, the longer the list, the greater the likelihood that the product contains many additives and refined ingredients. However, if a food is fortified with vitamins and minerals, it too can make the list longer. Some products may include various nutrition terms on the label to signify that the product is a good source of a particular nutrient or low in another nutrient. The FDA maintains strict guidelines on the use of these nutrient terms, so if you see these on food products, you know the product meets the regulatory standards for the term in use. Authorized health claims are approved by the FDA and include statements related to certain diseases and conditions, such as calcium and vitamin D intake and a reduced risk of osteoporosis, dietary fats and cancer, fruits and vegetables and cancer, folic acid and a reduced risk of neural tube defects, sodium and hypertension, and soluble fiber and a reduced risk of heart disease. Organic is a big buzzword these days, but food manufacturers can't just throw this word around loosely. The term organic is strictly regulated by the United States Department of Agriculture, or USDA for short, and defines 3 categories for organic labeling. 100% organic means the product contains only organic ingredients. In other words, ingredients produced using organic standards, not including water and salt. Organic, this product contains at least 95% organic ingredients, not including water and salt. A product that contains at least 70% organic ingredients may be labeled made with organic ingredients. The remaining 30% are still subject to various standards, including the use of non-GMO ingredients. When it comes to the label, read it, then heed it. When you're better informed, you'll make better choices. Here's to your health.